Nicolle, it's great to be talking with you. I wish you were at the desk, but what can you tell us about the Nature Repair Bill and the statement on climate change and agriculture?
Well, Cory, Labor is coming at Australian farmers any way they possibly can, and Australian farmers need to be keeping a very close eye on what the plans of the Albanese government are. So first of all, Cory, about a week ago we saw Chris Bowen announce these 6 sectoral plans, as you've just explained. There's no detail, so we don't know precisely what they are planning to do to agriculture and how they are planning to progress their net zero fantasy. What we do know is they also recently released the national statement on climate change, and once again, cattle are the big target. Now, this national statement on climate change and agriculture points out, Cory, that farming is worth $90 billion to the Australian economy, $70 billion of which are export dollars. So this is a critical national industry for Australia, and Labor are looking at messing with it, and particularly cattle, because cattle are the biggest emitters. They're also very difficult emitters to deal with, and the only plan that Labor seems to have, as outlined in this new national statement on climate change and agriculture, is feeding cattle seaweed. Now, Cory, I've spoken about this on your show before. The problem with that is that only 1 million of Australia's cattle are probably in a place, which is a feedlot, where you can easily feed them this new product they're developing. I have no problem with the product. It's just that, how do you get it to the other 24 million cattle in Australia to reduce their climate impact? So this is something we have to keep a very close eye on, Cory. Also, the Nature Repair Bill. Now, the Joint Standing Committee is the Senate Committee is handing down its report on Tuesday. I think everyone needs to have a close look at this, because what it may lead to is farmers being paid to set aside paddocks, so to take them out of production, turn them back to nature, once again to achieve net zero, or to help to achieve net zero. Now, Cory, what's really made me most nervous about this, I suppose, is that you look to Ireland, you look to the Netherlands, and what they're currently doing to their farmers. The Irish government has recently suggested that they will kill for no reason apart from to achieve their climate change aims. They're going to cull 200,000 perfectly good cattle, which I just find extraordinary. And over in the Netherlands, they have just had the EU approve 1.5 billion euros to purchase 3,000 perfectly good farms, again to meet climate change targets, Cory. Is this what we're looking at? Is this where we are heading?
This is insanity, what we're seeing overseas. Let's start with that there. The Europeans are claiming there's a food shortage, wheat prices are going up because of the war in Ukraine, there's a whole range of other issues. Now they're culling cattle, taking farmers off the grid. Everything the government here has suggested makes me think it's going to be harder for farmers to farm. They're going after livestock, as you've talked about, with the feed and emissions, fuel, power. All of those things are coming under threat here. $70 billion worth of export income, Nicolle. What do we need to do in order to push back against this?
Cory, I seem to say this every week as well. We need to get rid of the federal Labor government. This is where this madness is coming from. It's not coming from the Liberals or the Nationals. This again is Labor's, climate change fantasy. They think they can get to net zero, but to do so, they will need to do what the likes of Ireland and the Dutch are doing and start shutting down farms and culling cattle. But Cory, what really offends me most about this is that there are still so many parts of the world who don't have enough food. People do not have enough food to eat. Children don't develop properly because their brains don't get the protein they need. And here in the privileged Western world, we're talking about culling perfectly good cattle, for example, and shutting down very good, productive land. For what? for climate change, Cory. Like, you can only, it's peak madness as far as I'm concerned. It can only happen in the privileged West where we're not starving, where we don't have food insecurity. So I'm going to be monitoring this very closely, Cory. I'm very interested to see the report that's being handed down on Tuesday about this nature repair bill. And as you and I try to do, this is precisely what the hidden agenda is. This is where Labor might be heading. So I think we should keep a close eye on it, Cory.
I don't doubt that they are heading in that direction. I'm going to disagree with you because I've said it every week that this is peak madness, and every week I'm wrong because they get crazier and crazier and crazier with these policies that go forward. It's insanity because nothing we do is going to change the climate whatsoever, and even the chief scientist admits that. From an Australian point of view, we are just, signing our own economic suicide note, and now we're targeting our farmers. Really silly stuff. Nicolle Flint, next week I hope you'll be in the studio with me. Do you have any ideas, though, about what's going to happen in Parliament this week? What do you reckon's really on the agenda for the government?
Well, let's see whether Albanese has the courage of his convictions on his housing bill. He's making some vague threats that he might need to call a double dissolution to get it through, but I don't think he'll do, well, he may, but just given what we're seeing in Western Australia, and they had a by-election there over the weekend, and Labor's primary vote took a massive hit. This is all related, I would suggest, to The Voice, to the Aboriginal Heritage Act that is making everyone incredibly nervous in WA. And I think Labor might have to start thinking about the direction that they're trying to take the nation on these issues.
It's just a bit of political bluff and bluster, I reckon, and we will call it out every single week. So I look forward to having a chat with you next week.